Your brain will lie to you. It will beg you to stay comfortable, to play it safe, to avoid the hard things. But if you want a life that means something, you have to force it to do what it hates. We've been sold a dangerous idea that life should be easy, that comfort is the goal, and that the hard things aren't for everyone. But the truth is this: everything you want in life, the growth, the success, the pride, is hiding behind a wall of hard things your brain was wired to avoid. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe, not successful. And if you don't learn to challenge it, to confront it, to force it to do what's hard, then you will live a life ruled by fear, not freedom. Your brain has one job: survival. That means anything unfamiliar, uncertain, or difficult triggers resistance. It wants the path of least resistance because that path keeps energy high and risk low. But here's the twist: what protects you in the short term paralyzes you in the long term. That's why doing hard things isn't just about discipline, it's about rewiring your operating system. You have to teach your brain that discomfort isn't danger. It's the signal that you're on the right track. Hard things are not obstacles, they are invitations. Invitations to grow, to learn, to expand. Think of any person you admire. Not one of them got there by staying comfortable. They all did what was hard when it was hard. They ran toward resistance. They didn't wait to feel ready. They acted. And the moment you start taking action in the presence of discomfort, you take control away from fear and give it back to purpose. Your brain is not your enemy, but it is not always your ally in the way you expect. It was never designed to make you extraordinary. It was designed to keep you alive. That means it defaults to protection, not progress. The moment you encounter uncertainty, discomfort, or risk, your brain sends signals: anxiety, doubt, hesitation, all in an effort to get you to retreat, to pause, to go back to what's familiar. But here's what most people never realize: the part of your mind that screams, "Don't do it," is the same part that's keeping you average. That voice isn't speaking from truth. It's speaking from ancient programming. It's the survival instinct, and survival is very different from success. When you understand that your brain prioritizes safety over greatness, you begin to see why you've been stuck. It's not always a lack of discipline or even effort. It's a conflict between your goals and your biology. Your goals want expansion. Your biology wants repetition. Your goals crave growth. Your brain craves certainty. So every time you try to step into the unknown, starting a business, speaking up, changing careers, committing to a new routine, your brain fights back. Not because you're incapable, but because you're leaving the comfort zone, and that is perceived as danger. Even if that danger is simply the fear of judgment or the possibility of failure. It doesn't matter how irrational it is, your brain reacts the same way. It pulls the emergency brake and convinces you to play it safe. But playing it safe is where potential goes to die, and your brain doesn't care about that. It doesn't measure purpose or meaning or dreams. It measures survival. It tracks patterns, habits, familiar outcomes. It would rather you repeat a known mediocre path than explore an unknown, high-potential one. This is why so many people feel stuck in life, because they keep listening to a mind that was never programmed for progress. They keep waiting until it feels right, until they feel ready, until the fear goes away. But fear doesn't go away. You don't outgrow it. You learn to override it. You teach your brain a new way of responding. Every time you push yourself to do something difficult, you're sending a new signal to your mind. You're telling it, this is not danger, this is development. But this doesn't happen with one decision. It happens through repetition. The brain learns through action, through experience. When you choose discomfort repeatedly, when you walk toward the hard thing instead of away from it, your brain slowly starts to adapt. What once triggered fear becomes your new normal. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine, But that shift won't happen unless you force it. You can't negotiate your way into growth. You have to demand it from yourself. The reality is, your brain will try to talk you out of anything that stretches you. It will say, it's too late. You're not good enough. What if you fail? These thoughts aren't truths. They're scripts, and most of them were installed without your permission. Installed by your upbringing, by your environment, by your past experiences. They become reflexes, and you start confusing those reflexes with reality. But a reflex is just a habit of thought. It can be challenged, it can be broken, but only if you stop giving it control. To do hard things, you must be willing to go to war with comfort. That doesn't mean you never rest or recover. It means you stop letting your comfort dictate your direction. Every time you feel the pull of ease, remind yourself, this is the brain doing what it was built to do. And now you're going to do what you were meant to do. You're going to train it, shape it, rewire it, not through motivation, but through movement, not through inspiration, but through action. Your brain doesn't follow goals. It follows patterns. So the question is, what patterns are you reinforcing? What thoughts are you repeating? What actions are you normalizing? If you keep choosing what's easy, your brain will adapt to that. If you keep choosing what's hard, it will adapt to that too. Discomfort is often misunderstood. We're taught from an early age to avoid it, to eliminate anything that makes us feel uneasy, uncertain, or emotionally exposed. From how we're educated to how we're rewarded, the message is clear. Stay in control, stay comfortable, stay safe. But here's what that message doesn't tell you: comfort is a silent killer of growth. And discomfort is the signal that you're stepping into the space where real transformation happens. That tight feeling in your chest before a difficult conversation. That anxiety before taking a leap into something new. That resistance when you're about to start something challenging, those aren't signs to pull back. Those are signs to lean in. Your body reacts to change the same way it reacts to threat. Your heart races, your stomach tightens, your thoughts get louder, more chaotic. This physiological response has helped humans survive for thousands of years, but it has also limited those who never learned how to read the signals correctly. Discomfort doesn't mean you're unsafe. It means you're growing. It means you're doing something your old self isn't used to, and your brain is trying to protect that old self. It's like trying to upgrade your life while your mind is still operating on outdated programming. It will fight you. It will try to pull you back into the known, even when the known isn't working anymore. Every meaningful pursuit you've ever imagined lives on the other side of discomfort. Want confidence. It's built by facing fear. Want strength. It's built by carrying heavy loads. Want success. It's built by doing what others won't do, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's unfamiliar, even when it hurts. The equation isn't complicated. Challenge equals change, but what's simple isn't always easy. Discomfort demands presence. It asks you to be fully in the moment. It strips away the illusion of control and confronts you with who you really are when things don't go as planned. Most people run from that. They reach for distractions, for shortcuts, for excuses, not because they're weak, but because no one ever taught them that discomfort is necessary. Growth requires pressure. Just like muscles only grow when they're broken down through resistance, the mind only evolves when it's forced to deal with hard things. You cannot develop grit, focus, or mental endurance by avoiding challenges. Those qualities are forged in the fire of difficulty. The key is not to eliminate discomfort, but to become familiar with it, even grateful for it. When you begin to associate discomfort with progress, everything changes. You stop interpreting struggle as a sign of failure. You start seeing it as evidence that you're in motion, that you're doing the work most people are unwilling to do. One of the greatest shifts a person can make is to stop asking, "How can I make this easier?" and start asking, "How can I get stronger?" That shift alone changes your relationship with discomfort. It no longer becomes something to fear. It becomes something to respect, something to work through, something to rise above. The more you expose yourself to discomfort deliberately, the less power it has over you. That's how people build confidence, not by feeling good all the time, but by repeatedly stepping into hard situations and proving to themselves they can handle them. But you have to start small. No one builds resilience overnight. It begins with choosing the uncomfortable conversation instead of silence. It means waking up early when your body screams for rest, just to prove to yourself that your will is stronger than your mood. It means setting boundaries where you've always said yes out of guilt or fear. These moments might seem small, but they're how you start telling your brain a new story, that discomfort isn't danger, it's development. And the more you prove that to yourself, the more you train your nervous system to stay calm in chaos. That's where the shift begins. When discomfort no longer sends you running, but instead activates your focus, sharpens your senses, and reminds you that something meaningful is happening. You will never eliminate discomfort if you're doing anything worthwhile. It's part of the path. It shows up every time you chase something bold, something real, something beyond the version of yourself you've always been. And that's exactly why it matters. Because the presence of discomfort doesn't mean you're on the wrong path, it means you're alive, awake, and stepping into the kind of life most people only talk about. Resistance is often misinterpreted as a sign to stop. When we feel it, we assume we're on the wrong path, that we're not ready, that something must be wrong with us. But resistance isn't a wall designed to keep you out, it's a test designed to see how badly you want to move forward. The moment you decide to pursue something meaningful, whether it's a new habit, a personal transformation, a business, or a relationship, resistance will rise. It's predictable, it's consistent, and it's not personal. It doesn't show up because you're weak. It shows up because what you're about to do threatens the status quo of your life. The brain loves what is known, what is predictable. Anything that challenges the familiar threatens the delicate balance of comfort and security that your mind is addicted to maintaining. So the moment you commit to change, your inner system triggers resistance in the form of doubt, procrastination, fear, and distraction. These aren't flaws in your character, they are the brain's natural reflexes. But the danger is when you listen to them as if they hold the truth. They don't. They're echoes of old patterns, old pain, and outdated identities that are fighting for their place. Resistance is the tension between who you are now and who you're trying to become. It pushes back not because you're incapable, but because you're evolving, and evolution is uncomfortable. Every time you reach for growth, resistance will meet you at the door. It will whisper all the reasons you should wait, why you're not qualified, why now isn't the time. It will pull your attention toward distractions and tempt you to retreat into habits that feel familiar but lead nowhere. That is not a coincidence. That's the threshold of transformation, and most people never cross it not because they aren't capable, but because they misread the moment. They feel the discomfort and turn around. They interpret the internal struggle as failure instead of what it actually is, feedback. Feedback that something significant is happening inside them. To overcome resistance, you have to first recognize it for what it is, not a signal to stop, but a signal to asterisk pay attention. Asterisk, it means you've reached the edge of comfort and are stepping into the territory of growth. It's like friction during a workout, uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but entirely necessary if you want to build strength. And like training the body, training the mind to move through resistance takes repetition. The more often you lean into that tension instead of running from it, the more capacity you build to handle challenges without being shaken by them. Resistance thrives in silence and isolation. The more you ignore it, the stronger it grows. But the moment you name it, speak it out, face it head on, it begins to lose its power. This is why awareness is so critical. You must be able to observe your thoughts without blindly obeying them, the voice that says you're not good enough. Isn't your truth, it's your resistance trying to anchor you to your past. The urge to quit, to delay, to distract, those are resistance tactics, and you must treat them as such. They're not facts. They're emotional smoke screens, illusions your mind creates to keep you comfortable. And your job is not to eliminate resistance, but to rise above it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for resistance to go away before they act. But resistance doesn't leave until you move. That's the paradox. Action dissolves resistance. Forward motion silences the noise. It doesn't mean the fear disappears, it just means it loses its grip. Each time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that fear doesn't own you. That you can feel uncertain and still commit. That you can doubt yourself and still take action. That is how confidence is built, not through perfection, but through movement in the face of resistance. The beautiful part about resistance is that it always shows up in the presence of something meaningful. You never feel deep resistance to something that doesn't matter. It only rises when the stakes are real, when your values are engaged, when your future is at risk, when your next level is calling. So instead of fearing resistance, you can learn to respect it, not because it's right, but because it means you're aiming at something bigger than yourself. It's the price of purpose, the evidence that you're not staying stuck, the companion of anyone who's decided that average is no longer acceptable. Identity is not something you are born with, it's something you build, one decision at a time. The person you are today is the result of countless choices, repeated behaviors, and reinforced beliefs. Most people think identity is fixed, like a label they've been assigned. But the truth is, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Every time you show up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, you're not just completing a task, you're reinforcing a message to your own brain. This is who I am now. You don't become disciplined, resilient, confident, or driven by saying it. You become those things by doing the work that no one sees, the quiet battles you fight when no one's watching, the alarm you don't hit snooze on, the workout you don't skip, the temptation you say no to. These moments might seem small, even insignificant, but they are the bricks that build your internal structure. They shape how you see yourself. And once you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps their word, someone who does what needs to be done regardless of how they feel, that identity becomes the foundation for every result you want. Most people wait to feel like the person they want to be. They wait for motivation, confidence, clarity, and they keep waiting, because they think identity precedes action, but in reality, action shapes identity. You become a writer by writing, you become a leader by making hard decisions, you become an athlete by training like one, day after day. Your identity is not a title, it's a pattern, and those patterns are forged through repeated action, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's why doing hard things is not just about outcomes, it's about alignment. Aligning your behavior with the type of person you want to become. This is why pushing through discomfort matters, not because it's heroic, but because it redefines what you expect from yourself. Every time you act in contradiction to your old habits, your old excuses, your old identity, you weaken their hold, you loosen their grip. You prove that you are no longer who you used to be. You are not lazy. You are not inconsistent. You are not a quitter. Those were patterns, not your identity. They were learned, which means they can be unlearned. And new patterns, new identities can be built through repetition, discipline, and action. It's easy to talk about goals. It's easy to visualize the life you want. But what cements those goals into reality is action that matches the identity you're aiming for. If you want to be the kind of person who finishes what they start, then you have to act like that person long before the world sees you that way. You have to earn your own respect, not through perfection, but through consistency. The more you keep your own promises, the more power you gain, and the more power you gain, the less you rely on willpower alone, because now your habits are being driven by your identity, not just your emotion. Identity also becomes a compass. Once you clearly define the kind of person you want to be, not just what you want to achieve, but who you want to become decision making becomes simpler. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop entertaining the thought of quitting, not because it's easy, but because it's inconsistent with who you are. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise. One group reacts based on how they feel. The other acts based on who they've chosen to be. But identity isn't built in a day. It's built daily. It's built in the little moments when you say no to the easy option and yes to the right one. It's built when you take action even when no one is watching, even when there's no applause. Because that's when the most important witness you is paying attention. Your image is constantly watching your choices. And every time you align your action with your values, you reinforce a new narrative. A narrative of discipline, of commitment, of strength. A narrative that tells your mind, this is who I am now. And the more you tell that story through action, the more it becomes truth. Comfort has a way of disguising itself as peace. It feels warm, familiar, safe, like a place you could stay forever. And that's the trap. It lulls you into believing you're doing just fine, even when deep down you know you're meant for more. The problem isn't that comfort exists. The problem is how quietly it steals your ambition, your edge, your urgency. It doesn't demand that you quit. It just convinces you to slow down, to delay, to settle. It feeds you stories like you've done enough, or you deserve to rest. And while rest has its place, constant comfort leads to slow erosion, not of your body, but of your potential. People don't wake up one day completely disconnected from their goals. They drift, inch by inch. One skipped commitment here, one easy excuse there. It's subtle, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Comfort doesn't create chaos, it creates stillness, but not the kind that recharges you. It's the kind that numbs you. It slowly disconnects you from purpose, from momentum, from clarity. You stop pushing, you stop striving, you start watching life instead of building it. And the scariest part is, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels safe. That's why so many people never escape it. True fulfillment doesn't come from sitting still. It comes from pursuit, from progress, from struggle with meaning behind it. There's a deep satisfaction that comes from doing something difficult, not because you had to, but because you chose to. When you step into resistance, when you challenge yourself, when you stretch beyond your perceived limits, you tap into a part of yourself that comfort will never let you access. That's where pride lies. Not in results, but in effort. Not in perfection, but in persistence. When you do what most people won't, when you show up after failing, when you work when others rest, when you move forward even when motivation is gone, you build a sense of internal strength that comfort can never give. The idea that life should feel good all the time is one of the biggest lies culture has sold us. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is painful. Discipline is tiring. But the payoff isn't just external success. It's the internal shift, the confidence that comes from knowing you can trust yourself, that you can keep promises, that you don't need perfect conditions to be your best. That kind of self-respect doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in the fire of effort, failure, and getting back up again. The people who rise in life are not the ones who had it easiest. They're the ones who kept showing up even when it was hard. They built habits that aligned with their values, not just their emotions. Comfort also creates a false sense of time. It tricks you into thinking there will always be another opportunity, another tomorrow, another chance to start, but time doesn't wait. The dreams you delay because it's not the right time begin to wither. The person you were supposed to become fades a little more each day you choose ease over purpose. You may not see it immediately, but years later, you'll feel the weight of what you didn't do. Not because you lacked talent or potential, but because you chose what was comfortable instead of what was right. Chasing comfort may feel rewarding in the short term, but long term, it's a burden. It leaves you with questions that never go away. What if I had tried? What could I have become? What did I miss by choosing the easy road? These questions don't haunt people who gave it everything they had. They haunt the ones who knew they could have done more but chose not to. The ones who had the vision but lacked the discipline. The ones who talked about their goals but never paid the price to reach them. Comfort gives you peace today, but it often costs you purpose tomorrow. When you live a life defined by challenge, by intentional discomfort, you may be tired, but you're never empty. You might feel stretched, but you're also growing. There's movement, there's energy, there's passion. And that's what makes the struggle worth it. You're not just enduring the hard things, you're becoming someone new through them. Comfort could never offer you that transformation. It can give you security, but it cannot give you meaning. It can give you rest, but not fulfillment. It can give you a break, but not a breakthrough. And eventually, if you stay in it long enough, it will begin to suffocate your potential. Because the human spirit was not made for permanent stillness. It was made for pursuit, for growth, for doing the hard thing when everything inside you begs for the easy way out. Fear feeds on inaction. The longer you wait, the louder it grows. The more you hesitate, the more powerful it becomes. Fear doesn't need real danger to thrive, it only needs your silence. It survives off your delay, your overthinking, your endless planning without execution. That's why the only antidote to fear is action. Not grand gestures or massive leaps, but small, deliberate steps that send a signal to your mind, I'm moving anyway. Because movement breaks the cycle, action interrupts the story. Fear is a liar, but it's a loud one. And unless you drown it out with movement, it will dominate the space between who you are and who you want to become. The mind, when left idle, creates monsters. It exaggerates threats, amplifies doubts, and paints worst case scenarios with perfect clarity. And when there's no action to contradict those thoughts, they feel real. You begin to believe the lies. I'll fail. I'm not ready. They'll judge me. This isn't the right time. These are not truths. They're the echoes of fear rehearsed in your head. And the longer they go unchallenged, the more believable they sound. That's why you can't think your way out of fear. You can't reason with it. You have to confront it with evidence. You have to show yourself that the story isn't true, and the only way to do that is by doing the thing your fear is trying to stop. When you take action, even when you're afraid, you disrupt the narrative. The very act of moving, making the call, starting the workout, writing the first line, walking into the unknown sends a message back to your nervous system. I'm capable. I'm willing. I'm not ruled by emotion. It doesn't mean the fear vanishes. It means you stop giving it the steering wheel. The fear may still whisper, but it no longer gets to decide your direction. And with each act of courage, no matter how small, the volume of fear begins to drop. You teach yourself that it's possible to feel uncertainty and still move forward. What most people don't realize is that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of response. It's the choice to act in the presence of doubt. That decision, made over and over again, builds resilience. And resilience isn't something you're born with. It's earned through repetition, earned through showing up when it's easier to hide, earned through proving to yourself that fear doesn't control your identity. People who seem fearless aren't void of anxiety. They've just trained themselves to take action before fear has time to settle. They've built a pattern, a muscle, a reflex, and that muscle only grows when you use it. The irony is that most of what we fear isn't fatal, it's emotional. Rejection, judgment, failure, disappointment. These things sting, but they don't destroy you. In fact, they shape you. They test your commitment. They clarify your values, and when you face them head on, you become someone different on the other side. Stronger, sharper, more focused. Fear tries to keep you safe from those experiences, but in doing so, it keeps you stuck. It builds a cage made of comfort, and the key to escape is always the same: movement. Do the thing, step into it, not recklessly, but deliberately. It's not about being unafraid. It's about being unwilling to be ruled by fear. That shift is everything. It's the difference between a life of regret and a life of impact, between wondering what could have been and living it out. Action breeds clarity. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You just need to begin, because every action you take reveals something. It teaches you, guides you, sharpens your intuition, and the more you act, the more you grow. The more you move, the more you see. Fear clouds the mind, but action clears it. When you sit in fear, it multiplies. When you walk through it, it shrinks. That's how momentum is created, not by waiting for the fear to disappear, but by moving with it. And momentum is powerful. It creates belief. It changes how you see yourself, not as someone paralyzed by what might go wrong, but as someone focused on what can go right. That identity shift is priceless, because once you start seeing yourself as someone who takes action in the presence of fear, it changes what you attempt. You stop playing small, you stop asking for permission, you stop negotiating with your own potential, and you begin to act as the person you were meant to become. Stop waiting. Stop overthinking. This is your moment. Train your brain, do the hard thing, and earn the life no one will hand you but only you can build. Start today. Start now. Show yourself who you really are.